Yeah, well, Canvas is supposedly releasing a drag and drop block editor sometime this year, so people shouldn't even waste their time watching this video. Yikes, it's recording! Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of No Frills, Just Skills. I'm Dan, and today we are going to start with a blank page in Canvas and create a table, add a banner, a few buttons, and tabs. So let's get started. As I alluded to at the beginning, Canvas will be releasing what's called a block editor. This is more in line with website creation. If you've ever used a website creator like Wix.com, you'll notice that it's pretty easy to create pages, and you can just use essentially blocks to add text and image and video and so on. Canvas says that they're currently in closed beta, and it is a drag and drop editor interface to make it easier for instructors to create this beautiful, accessible course content. No coding skills needed. That's pretty cool. But as it is approaching the end of August and the beginning of a new school year, instructors will probably not be able to have access to this prior to them needing to have their courses completed and looking good for their students. So instead, what we're going to do is start with a blank page, and this is going to be our result or something like it. So what we have here is an image that serves as the banner. This is our welcome page. So we'll also learn how to make a page, what's called a front page, which then we can choose that to be our home page. We also have 5 buttons that are in a row instead of stacked, and we also have what's called tabs. We've got an assignment, quizzes, and tests tab and a projects tab. So we will go behind the scenes. We will be entering some code so you can follow along with me to create this and have an awesome end result that allows students to be able to navigate inside the page instead of relying solely on that navigation bar, which, if you've ever had this happen before, they might hit this button and then forget what they did and not know how to get back to it. It's okay if you're in person, but not necessarily okay if this is some online asynchronous class. So if I click on modules, that is the same as home for me. If I choose the home page over here, you'll see that course modules is the home page, and I do have different options except for the page's front page. Later on, I'll show you how to be able to select a page as your front page, so then you can make it your home page. But first, I want to create a new page and then add the image banner, the table, the buttons, and the tabs. So I will click on Pages and then choose the plus page button. All right, so everything is going to be done initially in the HTML editor. I will call this welcome page, and now get into the HTML editor. I'm going to start with the buttons. Start with an A-class attribute, and this is for the button. Okay, so this is the code for one button, and it took a long time to type, and obviously you'd be able to find code online somewhere. Some of these things could be added later or changed, and of course we can just copy and paste this for additional buttons. but you'll see that we have a large button. And I've played around with this a little bit too, and you can find like code for buttons that aren't compatible with the Canvas HTML editor. So this one works, so I recommend using this one. I do have a URL in here, as well as the name that will show, the word that will show up on the button. It does have to have a link to show up, otherwise it will not work. So when we're out of the HTML editor, all we see is syllabus that's underlined, and if we click on it, we can see that it is a link. So if we go into link options, we'll see what the link is. So we don't want to remove that. So if you ever had to change the link but didn't want to get rid of the button, you'd want to replace the link and not remove it until it's time to add another one. So if we save it, we'll see what the button looks like. All right, so there it is. That looks pretty good. So now what we're going to do is copy and paste the code for the button. So we have 5 total. Okay, so now we have 5 buttons that each say syllabus, and I would gather that's not what we want. And of course, we need to change the link to whatever it is that we're going for. What I showed you earlier was that we had 5 buttons. The first one was syllabus, which you'll see right here. The second one was calendar, so let's just replace that. The third one is about. Fourth one is FAQs. And the fifth one is contact. Let's go back into the text editor, and now we see our 5 words and our 5 links. If we save it, we will see that we have 5 buttons. And so if I clicked on one, the link that I have is to my website. See if it loads, and it loads. So it works, and it opens up in a new tab, which is cool. Okay, you also noticed that we actually had these buttons in a row, and they weren't stacked like this. So now what I'd like to do is to add the table. So I will add the table above the buttons. And so if I click to the left of syllabus, you see that it's still attached to the link. So if I just use my left arrow and hit that once, then that goes away. And then I can be sure that I won't mess anything up. So I'll hit enter, and that just gives me a space up here. All right, now look at my options up here, and I don't see a table. I don't see that because my window isn't wide enough. So I'll just click on these 3 dots, and here's my table. Click on the down arrow, and I'm going to make my table 3 rows and 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. I'm choosing 3 rows because 1 row will be for the header image or the banner image. The second one will just be a little bit of a gap or a space between the banner and the buttons. And so the third row will be buttons, and each button will be in its own column. All right, so the buttons will be in the third row. So I will click and highlight, and Control X to copy and cut, and then Control V to put one in each one of the columns. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, well, they're there. I also see the border for the table, so that will go away soon. Okay, now by doing that, it made the first and second rows really skinny. But if I click inside the third row and then arrow up, why didn't that work? Just have to click, make these bigger. Okay, I'm just going to put a space and a couple dashes to get it back to where it needs to be. Okay, now you'll notice that something happened here, and now I have a space up here that I'd like to get rid of. If I hit backspace or delete, nothing's working. So let me take a look in the HTML editor at the very top. Okay, this right here is a paragraph. So that's essentially one line, and here is a space. So I'm going to delete that and then go back, and then that removed the space at the top. Okay, now what I want to do is give room for the banner. I don't want to fit the banner in just one of these cells. So what I'm going to do is click and hold and drag across to select and highlight all of the cells. And now I'll go back to the table, go to Cell, and choose Merge Cells. Okay, now it's just one big cell. Now what I'm going to do is add my banner. So here's an image, and go to Course Images. I already have mine, and this is the one that I used. Okay, good. All right, now let's save it and take a look. Too bad, we're getting there. What I want to do though is center these buttons in each cell, and also get rid of the border of the table. So I'll click to the left of each one of these, but then hit the left arrow one time, and then I will go to align and center align each one of these. Okay, now okay, the table is highlighted, so that's good. So now let's go back. Let's go to the table and table properties. All right, so we see we have a border width of 1, so we're going to make that 0 and save. You'll see that now they're dashes, so that indicates that they are invisible. Okay, that's looking better. One thing to note is that, let's see if I can make this smaller. Yeah, everything looks good. However, make this wider, the buttons become wider than the banner, and I don't like that. And I'll show you why that's happening. Code. That's happening because we have percentages for our width. So I want to take a look at the dimensions of my image banner and make the width that much in pixels instead of a percentage. So here's my banner. I'm just going to look at the properties to see how wide that is. You can right-click on a file to bring this up. Right-click and choose properties. So if we look at the details it is 959 by 307. So my width is right here, 959. So I'll just make it 960. So I need to do that for the table. So 960 and px for pixels. Now I'll just copy that and I'll paste that here. And then I want to determine what the spacing will be evenly for the width. So 960 divided by 5 is, so let's just make them 190. So I'll just copy and paste that. Do that here as well. All right, so let's check that out. Okay, so far it looks good. Let me make this wider. And it works. That's good. Now what if you didn't like the color of these buttons? You could go in and change the color. That's the background color. And in each one of these we see the button, large button, info button with background numbers. So this is the hex color code. And so when I typed in hex color code, this automatically came up, so you could use that very easily. I also found this that somebody created. So somebody worked really hard to create this, only to have, of course, the big companies like Microsoft Bing come up with their own, or I don't know, maybe it is one that somebody who doesn't work for Microsoft created. But let's just go here. So what if I want it to be a lighter blue than what we saw? I like this one, which is more kind of grayish blue. So I could just select that and copy it. And then I will replace. Okay, see how that looks. It doesn't match the blue here, so maybe it would be better to just have a darker blue. And we don't need to worry about that too much. But you also see that there's a border here as well. That's for another video. Okay, I think the last thing we need to do is add the tabs. So let's get back into our editor. And so we need to do this outside of the table. So this is the end of the table. And we do have a lot of spaces here. Let's just get rid of this. Let's just leave this here so we have a little bit of a space between the table and our tabs. Okay, so this starts with the following. That's the beginning. And now we are adding code which is what's called a fragment. Okay, for now we're just going to have one fragment or one tab, and then once I finish this, we'll add another one just so you can see how you could continue to add on so you could have multiple tabs. So this should be everything that I need for one tab. You'll see that it starts with the div class, enhanceable content tabs, and it closes out with a /div. You also see here that we've got the UL attribute. The div tag defines a division or a section in an HTML document. The UL tag defines an unordered or bulleted list. Now, it doesn't seem to make sense in context of having tabs, but you'll see that once we get out of the HTML editor. So let's take a look. Okay, so right now we've got assignments, quizzes, and tests. We see another bullet point, and then we see this, which is supposed to go with the assignments, quizzes, and tests. So again, in the text editor, it looks kind of strange. And consequently, if you were in a mobile view, like you were viewing this on a mobile device, it's going to look like this as well. So let's save it. Okay, and this is how it looks. We've got one tab. So now let's add another one to the HTML editor. Oh, that's why, because we've got this. That's why we have that second bullet point. So let's just take this, copy, and paste it right here. But we need to call this fragment 2. And the name of it is projects. And then we need to copy this and paste it underneath and call this fragment 2 projects. All right, now let's check it out. Okay, looks fine, but it's hard to make sense of that in this view, right? So let's save it. All right, so right now we only see what's in the first tab. You know, we see the tab header for both, but we're on the first tab, so we only see this information when we're in tab 1. If I click on the projects tab, then we go to the information that's within that. So of course you can add on and on and on, which is really nice. This of course makes it so a student doesn't need to scroll down and down and down if it's filled with a lot of information. And it prevents having to click to go to another page. So it's just a way really to organize and have a lot of information on one page without kind of inundating the learner with a lot of text. Again, one thing about the buttons, if you want to change the link, then you could click on it and choose link options and then add a new link right there. Because if I remove a link right there and save it, now you'll see that the button went away. And if we go into the code for calendar right here, there's no longer button code. So instead of copying and pasting from one of these to go back, let me just show you one more thing. If we go click on these 3 dots and go to View Page History, let's take a look. Let's go to this one from 1013. Okay, good. See that? The button was there, so let's restore this version. Sometimes it can be really difficult to go back to a different version after you've saved. This is possible to do that. Show you one more thing too. Bonus. What if I deleted this page? Why would I do that? No! For the love of Pete! Well, let's go to something that's called undelete. So I'm in the URL here. And so my course number is 3484558 / I changed it from pages to undelete. Okay, this says restore deleted items. It showed that one page was deleted created at this time, deleted at this time. Restore. And now let's go back into pages. And here it is. Yes. Okay. Excellent. Let's go back to view all pages because we want to make this our front page. So let's publish it. If we don't have it published, we can't use it as our front page. So publish, use as front page. It's our front page, but it's not yet our home page. So if I click on home, the course modules still show up. So now I'll choose home page and the welcome page front page. Save. And there it is. And again, you might say, this looks a little bit strange. I don't like how that looks. So if you wanted to, you could always make this narrower as well as the button smaller. We can close the left navigation to be able to see it better. But if we click on View as Student, let's see what it looks like, because there's not as many of these buttons here, but there's still this column on this side. So it still shows up a little strange. Don't necessarily like how that works. But again, that depends on the width of your window, the size of your monitor, right? How big the window is in your monitor, and if you do or do not have this navigation panel open. Thanks for joining me today. If you found this video useful, please click like and subscribe. See you next time.